Do you actually know what your rabbit understands about you, right now in this moment as you watch this? Not in a vague, feel-good way. Most rabbit owners carry a quiet version of this question around with them for years. They watch their rabbit, they love their rabbit, and they never quite shake the doubt. The doubt that says, does any of this actually go both ways? Is my rabbit aware of me, specifically me? Or am I just the shape that delivers the pellets? Here's what nobody tells you. The research that exists on rabbit cognition doesn't just suggest that doubt is wrong, it dismantles it completely. And later in this video, I'm going to get to the one finding that undoes the whole low engagement pet story in a single sentence. I'm saving that one for last, because once you hear it, you won't be able to think about your rabbit the same way again. Let's start with what your rabbit actually perceives when they look at you. 1. Your rabbit knows your voice, not just as a sound, as you. Most owners assume their rabbit responds to sound in the way a light switch responds to pressure. Stimulus in, reaction out. So they talk to their rabbit the way they talk to a houseplant, pleasantly, without expecting anything back. And because they're not expecting anything, they miss everything. Here's what's actually happening. Researchers studying auditory discrimination in rabbits have found that they can distinguish individual human voices with a specificity that goes well beyond volume or pitch. A rabbit who has bonded with you will orient toward your voice differently than toward a stranger's, even at the same volume, even with the same intonation. This isn't generalized noise sensitivity. This is recognition. Documented in their behavioral response patterns, the ear angle, the stillness, the micro-decision to stay or move. Your rabbit isn't just hearing a sound when you speak. They are hearing you. They have filed your voice away as something specific and known in a brain that is far more organized around individual recognition than anyone gave it credit for. Because here's the thing about prey animals. Survival depends on telling things apart. The familiar from the unfamiliar, the safe from the unknown. That cognitive machinery doesn't switch off when the threat is gone. It gets redirected toward the members of the group, toward the individuals who matter, toward you. That's not background awareness. That's specific, deliberate recognition running every time you open your mouth. 2. Your rabbit reads your emotional state, and they change their behavior because of it. Most owners notice this and explain it away. Oh, they're just being weird today. They seem off for some reason. They assume the rabbit's mood is internal, a rabbit thing, unconnected to anything happening in the room. So they keep walking in after a bad day, tense and distracted, wondering why the interaction felt flat. And they never make the connection. Here's what's actually happening. Animal behaviorists studying prey species have documented what's called emotional contagion, the capacity to read and mirror the affective state of individuals nearby, in rabbits. This has been observed in colony behavior. A rabbit who picks up stress signals from a bonded partner will shift into a heightened state even in the total absence of any direct threat. The signal is the thing. The signal is enough. And when researchers looked at domestic rabbits and their primary human caregivers, the same pattern held. Rabbits exposed to a calm, unhurried owner showed measurably lower stress markers, lower respiratory rate, more relaxed posture, more frequent approach behavior, than the same rabbits in the same environment with an anxious or distracted human nearby. Your rabbit is not just coexisting in your space. They are reading it. They are reading you. Every time you walk into the room, your rabbit runs a rapid, unconscious assessment and adjusts, not because you're a threat, because you matter. Because in the social calculus of a bonded rabbit, the emotional state of the person they are attached to is important information. Think about that for a second. Your rabbit cares how you're doing, not abstractly, neurologically, behaviorally, in ways that can be measured. That's not sensitivity. That's love with a biological mechanism. And hey, if you've ever suspected your rabbit was picking up on something you never said out loud, and this is giving that suspicion a name, hit like and subscribe. This channel exists for rabbit owners who want to understand what's actually happening between them and their animal, not just the surface of it, all of it. 3. Your rabbit remembers, not just routines, you. And here's where it gets even deeper. Most owners think of their rabbit's memory in terms of schedules, feeding time, playtime, the pattern of the day. So they never question it when their rabbit greets them at the cage door at 6 in the evening. Pavlov, they think. Conditioning. Just the food connection firing. They don't look further. Here's what's actually happening. There's a distinction in memory research between associative memory, learning that A predicts B, and episodic-like memory, which is the capacity to remember specific experiences in context. For a long time, episodic memory was considered a uniquely human trait. Then it was documented in great apes, then in corvids, then in rats. And the rabbit research that followed tells us something remarkable. Rabbits demonstrate what researchers now call episodic-like recall, the ability to remember not just what happened, but context around it. Not just that food comes at 6, but what the room was like when someone kind sat with them. Not just that hands picked them up, but which hands and what those hands felt like the last time. My rabbit spent 3 weeks being shy around a house guest, and when that same person returned 4 months later, 4 months, she moved to the back of the room before they'd crossed the threshold. No sound, no sudden movement. She remembered. That's not conditioning. That's biography. Your rabbit is keeping a record, and you are in it, specifically, individually, in detail. Every patient moment you've spent on the floor, every time you moved slowly because they needed you to. They didn't just feel that in the moment, they kept it. Not because they had to, because you matter enough to remember. And remember what I mentioned at the start, the single finding that collapses the whole low engagement story. We're almost there, and the reason I saved it for last is that it doesn't just tell you something about your rabbit's brain, it tells you something about what you actually are to them. 4. Your rabbit experiences something in your presence that has no survival value, which means it can only be one thing. Most owners interpret their rabbit's calm as passivity. The rabbit is settled, still, relaxed, and the owner reads this as absence. Nothing happening. Rabbit in idle mode. So they scroll their phone. They let the quiet be quiet, and they miss what the quiet actually is. Here's what's actually happening. Researchers measuring cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone, in domestic rabbits have found something that doesn't fit neatly into the prey animal model. Rabbits who have bonded with a specific human caregiver show a statistically significant drop in cortisol in that person's presence. Not in a calm environment generally. In that person's presence specifically. Remove the person, the levels shift. Bring them back, they drop again. The person is the variable. The person is the cause. Now consider what that means for a prey animal. An animal whose nervous system was built, over millions of years, to stay vigilant, to keep cortisol high enough to survive, to treat relaxation as a liability. That animal, in your presence, is doing something its biology never required it to do. It is standing down. Not because the environment is safe, because you are there. You, specifically. You are the variable that changes what their nervous system does. Be honest. Did you know that? Did you know that your presence, not the room, not the routine, not the food, your presence is what their body responds to? That's not familiarity. That's attachment. Real, measurable, biological attachment. The kind that costs something to form and means everything once it exists. Not because it's easy for them, because you earned it. 5. This is the one I mentioned at the start. Research into rabbit social cognition, specifically into how domestic rabbits categorize the humans in their lives, has found something that changes the frame entirely. When a rabbit has bonded with a person, they do not file that person under human. They file them under safe individual, the same cognitive category they would use for a trusted member of their own colony. The same category, the same neural classification. You're not the owner to your rabbit. You're not even the caregiver. You're family, in the only language their brain speaks. Imagine what it takes for a prey animal, an animal whose survival has always depended on knowing exactly who is safe and who isn't, to make that classification about a creature from an entirely different species. That is not a default. That is not automatic. That is earned, over time, through the specific way you have been with them, through every moment you moved slowly when they needed you to, every time you got down on the floor instead of looming, every quiet hour when you just existed near them without demanding anything back. Your rabbit didn't decide you were family because you fed them. They decided because of who you showed up as. Every single day. That's not a low engagement pet. That's someone who chose you, with the full weight of everything that word has ever meant. Because your rabbit doesn't just tolerate your presence, They organize their sense of safety around it. They remember you. They read you. They hold you in the same place they hold their own kind. The doubt you've been carrying, the quiet fear that it only goes one way, was never true. It was never true. You just didn't have the language for what was already there. You have it now.